all around this country over the last decade, I meet different people. Sometimes, like the other day on Monday, I saw a man on the plane who was reading a book by Mark Levin. I meet people who come up to me who talk about Mark Levin. They talk about Mark Levin more than any other member of Congress, more than any other television or radio personality. The people who care about what we do listen to Mark Levin. And I know when they are listening to Mark Levin that these are people who've decided to take their activism to the next level. It's not just about being angry, it's about learning about the Constitution and learning about our founding and understanding how those documents still relate to today. That's what I think is one of the best things about Mark Levin. And when I'm having a really awful day or I just hate what's happening in Washington, D.C., which is more often than you can probably imagine, I decide in the morning I'm going to listen to a podcast of Mark Levin so that it will cheer me up and make me ready to fight again for the next day. I encourage everyone to listen to Mark Levin every day, and it's my pleasure to welcome him to our stage today.
Hello, New Hampshire. Wait a minute. No, I'm not Joe Biden. We are here today because we believe in one word: liberty. Socialism is the opposite of liberty. Under socialism, you surrender your heart, your soul, and your mind to Elizabeth Warren, to Bernie Sanders, to Cory Booker, and all the rest of them. Now, we have men and women in uniform in one hellhole after another, and I said one hellhole after another, all over the world, where people from those hellholes are trying to get into the United States, by the way. And they're not fighting for socialism. And I'm quite serious about this. These are Americans who volunteered to defend this country. Now, what does that mean, defending this country? It means defending the documents in the National Archives, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all the Bill of Rights. When I hear these politicians attacking our Constitution, whether it's the Second Amendment, whether it's the Electoral College or whatever it is, when I hear them pushing their left-wing progressive agenda, trashing the men who created this country, telling us this country was founded in slavery, they're very confused. They must be talking about Red China. They must be talking about the Red Soviet Union and Russia. They must be talking about modern-day Iran and North Korea. Look around you. This is liberty. You're free to move, mobility. You're free to speak. You're free to start your own press enterprise. You are free people. In the vast majority of the world, the people are not free. They're starving. They don't have a roof over their head. They have nothing. And not one damn one of those countries is capitalist. Not one of them. Not one damn one of those countries is a constitutional republic. Not one of them. That's what our founders gave us. That's what the framers of the Constitution gave us. Life, liberty, happiness, and prosperity. And I'll be damned if we're going to swap Elizabeth Warren for James Madison. And I'll be damned if we're going to swap Bernie Sanders for George Washington. And I'll be damned if we're going to swap any of them for any of our founders and framers of the Constitution. Now, let's go through a few issues. Healthcare. Healthcare is through the roof, not because of insurance companies, not because of pharmaceutical companies, but because of them. That's why. Big government regulates every aspect of health care, every aspect of health care. But it's not enough. They have promised us for 50 years that they were going to reduce premiums. 50 years that they were going to reduce deductibles. 50 years that you can go see any doctor you want, get any pharmaceutical you want. Well, is that what's happened? No. And now, what do they say? I'll tell you what, we'll control the whole thing. We will force you all into the VA. That's what they're telling you right now. How many of you paid into Medicare your entire lives? You have candidates running for office who now say somebody who steps into this country illegally this minute should have access to Medicare. And Medicare is going bankrupt. What are they doing about it? Nothing. Now, we don't need any more promises from low IQ politicians who are appealing to their radical left-wing base. No, we need less government, more liberty. We need to go on the offensive. They talk about taxing wealth. Where's that in the Constitution? They talk about 70 to 90% higher marginal income tax rates. Where's that in the Constitution? They talk about eliminating the Second Amendment, which is in the Constitution. They talk about eliminating the Electoral College, which is in the Constitution. And they wave around the Constitution when they think it helps us. Otherwise, they dismiss it. They dismiss it as a body of work written by slaveholders. They are schizophrenic. And they're worse. They're diabolical. And the press is disgusting. We have a free press, not to be the mouthpieces of tyranny, not to be the mouthpieces of socialism, not to be the mouthpieces of Hamas and Hezbollah in Iran and Red China. Our press is supposed to be free to support our principles, our founding principles, and which are not hard to support. Individual liberty, private property rights, freedom, freedom. The same freedom the press enjoys, the rest of us want to enjoy as well. Now, I want to talk about a few other subjects while I have your attention. Iran. Iran. I hear it said, what business is it of ours what Iran does? I don't know. What business was it of ours what Osama bin Laden did in a cave in Afghanistan? Wars don't begin in Kansas. Wars don't begin in Texas. Wars don't begin in North Dakota. Wars don't begin in Florida. They begin 7,000 miles away, 9,000 miles away. Why do you think that regime wants ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles? And why do you think they want to put nuclear warheads on them? Because of us. We are the number one Satan. What do we have to do? Wait for them to tell us? They do tell us every time they speak. Well, Mark, how many more wars do you want us involved in? None. But the enemy wants us involved in a lot of wars. And the fact of the matter is, you can have significant casualties, significant deaths, if you close your eyes, take an ostrich position, and you watch the enemy form, you watch the enemy get stronger and stronger, and you pretend that we here in the continental United States are protected. If 9/11 taught us anything, it taught us that's not true. If World War II taught us anything when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, that showed us it wasn't true. Every major war we've been involved in modern times started somewhere else. And then somewhere else became America. When they hit New York, when they hit Washington, when they hit central Pennsylvania. What is it going to take for the Code Pink Republicans and the leftists to understand that we have a military for one reason? Not to colonize, not because we're imperialists. It's to kick their ass before they hit us. Iran hits Saudi Arabia. I don't give a damn about Saudi Arabia. That's not the point. Do you happen to know where the United States Fifth Fleet is? It's in Bahrain. If they can hit Saudi Arabia with pinpoint accuracy with drones and cruise missiles, the United States Fifth Fleet can be hit just as easily. Iran showed us a few days ago. They have the technological know-how to hurt us, and they have the will to hurt us. Do we have the will to defend ourselves, yes or no? Now I want to talk about immigration. Who passed our immigration laws? They did. Then they have an obligation to enforce them. We didn't pass them. They passed them. If they don't like them, fix them. But they're not going to fix them. You know why? They want chaos. They want anarchy on the border. They want more people crawling across, sick, dragged across, whatever the reason. Why? Because the next generation gets the vote. Let's be honest. If they cared about those children, they'd secure that border. If they cared about separating parents from children, they would secure that border. They have done nothing to secure that border. 10 years ago, they supported it. Then they figured out something. Look, Arizona's turning blue. Texas is turning purple. New Mexico's gone. A few more states. We can't lose. You watch. In 10 years, they're going to support the Electoral College because we won't be able to win it. But it's even more than that. Lawlessness is wrong, whether it's done by American citizens or done by foreigners coming into our country. Why should there be two standards? One for an American citizen and one for an alien who comes into this country illegally. We support immigration. That lady who spoke here a couple of speakers ago, who was tortured, Jennifer, in China, we want more Jennifers in this country. We want more people coming into this country who will assimilate. We want more people coming into this country who believe in Americanism, capitalism, individualism, and liberty. We welcome them. And as a matter of fact, I'd be happy to trade liberals for them any day of the week. Especially Robert Francis O'Rourke. Now, let me say this, too. We have a president of the United States who is taking on all these entities. You may not agree with them every single thing. It really doesn't matter. Because when it comes to the left, we disagree with them on virtually everything. We have a man in the White House who is stronger than most men, who gets up every morning to a media, and they know it, who have as their purpose to destroy him, his family, his businesses, his reputation. They hang on his every syllable. The New York Times, which covered up the Holocaust. The New York Times, which covered up Stalin's murder of the Ukrainians. The New York Times, which shouldn't be in business anymore with a record like that, and wouldn't be in business anymore but for a billionaire who decided to rescue them. Neither would the Washington Post over there, but for Amazon and Mr. Bezos. Neither would CNN, but for the fact that AT&T bought them. Neither would MSNBC, but for the fact, that Comcast owns them. Fox owns itself. And they want to destroy Fox. How dare there be another network that doesn't join the conga line of the left? That's impermissible. We demand uniformity. We demand conformity. We in the media. We don't have a free press. We have a modern mass media filled with progressive ideologues and Democrats and social activists who've done more to destroy freedom of the press than any government could do. They are undermining freedom of the press, as they are undermining freedom of speech, as they are undermining freedom of association, as they are undermining freedom to bear arms. The New York Times is pushing out an agenda now that has as its purpose to brainwash every kid in America that America was founded on slavery. The vast majority of Americans never owned slaves. And the United States of America wasn't founded in 1619. It started in 1776 then we had the Articles of Confederation, then we had the Constitution of the United States. And I hope they'll teach the Civil War. Every single damn battle in that Civil War, the greatest war in American history. The lives lost, over 700,000. The casualties were enormous, were immense. And then they lie about Abraham Lincoln. They say Abraham Lincoln didn't want to get rid of slavery. Really? Read Frederick Douglass. He'll tell you about Abraham Lincoln. Hell, he was a skeptic, and then he became a supporter. Abraham Lincoln wanted to destroy slavery, and he did. Abraham Lincoln did more for the progress of individual liberty in this country, for all people, than the Democrat Party and the media and these people running for president today could ever dream of doing. And yet they denounce him too. Finally, the progressive movement. The progressive movement. You hear people, I'm a progressive. I'm a progressive. Just remember, progressivism is a throwback. They reject progress, human progress. Just look around you. Think about this. You get up 2 in the morning and you're hungry. You can go to McDonald's. You can go to 7-Eleven. There's 24/7 grocery stores. You go into a major supermarket in this country. What kind of meat would you like? What kind of cut would you like? Do you want 85% fat in your hamburger meat, or 80 or 90% fat? Look at all the sodas. Flavors I never heard of before. Diet, quasi-diet, full sugar. There's a super drink, whatever. Oh, let me go over to the wine section. Oh, there's California wines, there's Virginia wine, there's this wine, there's that wine. I get worn out walking through these aisles. What do you want? 12 different types of napkins? I mean, think about it. Fish. Oh, it's all fresh. I go into these restaurants, by the way, they say, we have fresh fish. I said, no, I like frozen fish. But anyway, you go into these, fish from everywhere, anywhere. We live better than any king or queen lived 100, 200 years ago. We, average Americans, we live better than any human beings live on the planet today and have ever lived before. You know, we say to ourselves, man, I got to get on a plane and fly to California. That's 5 hours. 5 hours? It's air conditioned. Maybe the guy next to you has a mouthful of garlic. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, maybe you want some peanuts if they're not outlawed, or pretzels if they're not outlawed. Maybe I'd like a can of Diet Coke if I can have a can of Diet Coke. Ooh, I don't have enough room here. It's just, they used to take trail wagons, go across the country. It would take months, and many people didn't survive. 5 hours from here to California. Humanity's never seen anything like this before. Nothing like this before. You go into your home, we have air conditioning. In the summer you have heat. You flick a switch, the light comes on. Do we even realize what kind of a society that we live in this country? And I would remind the history teachers in the media where this came from. They call them robber barons. These are the men of the Industrial Revolution that made the biggest middle class, as Marx would say, the biggest middle class in human history. Access to food, mobility, homes, the development of steel, the development of oil and natural gas, the development of electricity and clean water and sewage systems and automobiles and everything associated with it, on and on and on. Government didn't create it. These knuckleheads didn't create it. The private sector created it. All they do is get in the way and tell us how they're going to make everything better. We had a civil rights movement in this country, a great movement. It didn't start in there. It started in black churches. It didn't start there. They opposed it. Liberty doesn't begin there. They're there because it's in the Constitution. Now they need to mind their own damn business, operate within the Article 1 of the Constitution, and otherwise get out of our faces. Let me just say this as I leave for the great Louis Gohmert, a dear friend. I want to thank Jenny Beth, the Tea Party Patriots, her team. I want to thank all of you patriots out there. I really do. Just keep at it. This election, you've heard it, but it's true, is a choice between capitalism and socialism. It's a choice between liberty and tyranny. What kind of country do you want to live in? What kind of country do you want your children to live in? And your grandchildren to live in? This can be lost. This can be lost. And in most societies, it is lost. Because liberty and a free society and a constitutional republic are not guaranteed existence in perpetuity. That is left to us. Franklin said it, they all said it. We can build the most magnificent constitution mankind has ever seen. But if the people lose their virtue, then nothing can stop tyranny. And we are here to tell the press and the Congress that we're not going anywhere. And we are here to tell the President of the United States, stand strong, keep on the fight, we back you. Because you stand between us and them. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.